welcome to the deep dive. You brought us, well, a really fascinating source today, How to Hypnotize Your Lover by Wendi Friesen.
Yeah, it's definitely an intriguing one.
And look, this isn't about, stage magic tricks or anything.
Not at all?
Think of it more like exploring the erotic potential that's already in our minds. How understanding that can maybe deepen intimacy.
Exactly. That's the core idea. And our mission here is really to pull out the most useful, actionable insights for you, the learner.
Right.
So this book, it delves into this overlap between hypnosis, NLP, that's neuro-linguistic programming, and intimacy.
Yeah.
Friesen talks about techniques for what she calls hypnotic seduction, erotic hypnosis, even ways hypnosis might help with certain sexual difficulties.
So it's a mix of theory and practice.
Yeah, explanations, techniques. She even includes some, well, suggestive scripts. For you, the learner, the question is, how can these ideas about the subconscious give us new ways to think about connection, pleasure, even personal magnetism?
Personal magnetism, I like that. Okay, let's jump in. First up, she really hammers home this idea of the brain being the ultimate sex organ.
It sounds almost cliche, doesn't it? But she really pushes beyond the obvious.
How so?
Well, she challenges us to shift focus from just the physical. It's about the mental landscape where desire really originates.
Okay, and she talks about permission.
Yes, exactly. That's a huge theme. The idea that unlocking our sensuality is often just about giving ourselves permission, letting go of inhibitions.
Makes sense. We all have baggage, right?
Totally. She tells this really personal story about a sensual dance exercise, actually, and how it transformed her father's perspective. It shows how deep those ingrained beliefs run.
So for the learner listening, the takeaway is maybe to check in with those internal narratives.
Yeah.
Am I actually allowing myself to feel sensual?
Precisely. Are you giving yourself that green light? Because Friesen argues we're fundamentally designed for sexual desire and pleasure. It's not something foreign.
It's innate.
Right. It's more about uncovering it, letting it surface. And hypnosis, in her view, is a way to gently sidestep the conscious mind.
The part that's always judging and worrying.
Exactly, that part. To tap into the subconscious where she believes this huge erotic potential lies dormant.
Wow. Okay, that leads to something pretty wild, because she mentions hypnotic orgasm.
Yeah, it sounds out there, doesn't it?
A little.
But she brings up examples like people experiencing orgasm during sleep totally disconnected from physical touch.
Right, that does happen.
It's powerful proof, she argues, of the subconscious mind's ability to generate real physical sensations based purely on mental input.
So the implication for you, the learner, is your thoughts have a direct line to your physical pleasure.
A very direct line. It suggests we can cultivate pleasure through our minds in ways we might not expect.
So if the mind has that kind of power, hypnosis becomes, what? A tool for change.
Essentially, yes. A method for reshaping our beliefs, our perceptions about sex, and ultimately our actual sexual experiences. It's about using suggestion to unlock new possibilities.
Okay, but let's clarify, what is hypnosis according to Friesen? It's not sleep.
Definitely not sleep. And not mind control either. She describes it as a focused state of relaxation. Very natural.
Like daydreaming.
Exactly like daydreaming, that feeling of being absorbed in thought. And she stresses pretty much everyone can experience it. The depth doesn't always matter for results.
So you don't need to be, completely out of it.
Not necessarily, though she does briefly touch on somnambulism, that very deep state, almost like sleepwalking, sometimes with amnesia.
But for this erotic stuff, a lighter state works.
Seems to be the focus, yes. More accessible. And then she brings in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
Right. You mentioned that. What's the gist?
Think of it as understanding the instruction manual for your brain, how it uses language, images, feelings to create your reality.
Okay.
And if you understand that language, you can potentially influence your own state, maybe even others, which leads to this idea she calls neuro-linguistic seduction, or NLS.
NLS. Okay, so it's not just about formal hypnosis sessions then. It bleeds into everyday interactions.
Very much so. Persuasion, influence, it happens all the time. She emphasizes suggestibility varies. Some people are more open than others.
But crucially, she stresses trust.
Right.
And boundaries.
Absolutely vital. This isn't about manipulation or making someone do something against their values. No forced naked table dancing, as she puts it.
Good to know.
It's more an art of persuasion, using words and suggestions subtly, even in a normal waking state.
Waking trance.
Yeah.
What's that?
Those moments we all have. You zone out, your breathing slows, maybe your eyes glaze over slightly while listening to someone.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling.
Those are moments of heightened suggestibility. Recognizing them, using them ethically, that's part of it.
And this ties into anchors, conditioned responses.
Exactly. Like Pavlov's dogs, but for feelings. Linking an emotion, desire, relaxation, whatever, to a specific trigger.
Like a touch or a sound.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
A touch, a word, a smell, even a color. Like her example of red evoking warmth and desire.
Huh. And these can happen by accident.
Oh, definitely. A bad experience linked to a specific place or song can create a negative anchor without you even realizing it.
Like feeling stressed, and someone touches your shoulder, and then later that touch makes you feel stressed.
Precisely. That's covert anchoring, happening unconsciously.
Yeah.
But the flip side is you can create positive anchors intentionally.
Like public speakers do.
Yeah, or salespeople. Using a specific gesture or phrase when the audience feels good to link that feeling to the gesture. Anthony Robbins is famous for his physical anchoring techniques.
Okay, so applying this to intimacy, sexual desire anchoring.
Right. Intentionally linking, say, a specific unique touch, maybe a gentle squeeze on the arm or a particular word, to a moment when your partner feels intensely positive, loved, safe, relaxed, turned on.
And you can stack them, make them stronger.
Yes, stacking anchors. Combine, say, the touch with a word, like saying now, right at a peak moment of pleasure, while also using that specific touch.
So it layers the association.
Makes it more potent. Then the idea is you can subtly fire that anchor, later use the touch, whisper the word to bring back that desired feeling.
Wow. She mentions men might be particularly responsive.
She does suggest that, yeah. Interesting observation.
And using anchors during orgasm seems intense.
Well, the theory is the mind is incredibly open and receptive at that point. So establishing an anchor, then a touch, a whispered phrase like, all mine, could be very powerful.
And you could trigger it later, like in a completely different context.
That's the idea. A simple touch or word bringing back that wave of intense pleasure. She gives a scenario of doing it subtly in a restaurant.
Intriguing. And she has a whole thing on whispering, too, the whisper anchor.
Yeah, because a whisper itself commands attention, doesn't it? It draws you in.
It does feel intimate.
So combining an anchor with a whispered suggestion during a moment of high desire, she believes it bypasses the conscious mind effectively, even if it's not fully registered consciously.
Okay, but let's address the elephant in the room. Mind control. Covert hypnosis. Is this real?
Friesen tackles this head-on. She says true mind control, like in the movies, is largely a myth outside very specific controlled environments.
What about stage hypnotists?
That relies heavily on volunteer participation, expectation, suggestibility, wanting to be part of the show. It's not really forcing anyone.
Right.
That said, she acknowledges that just being known as a hypnotist can create intrigue and make people more open.
Sort of primes them.
Exactly. And using trance states, plus suggestive language, you want me, feel closer, can definitely influence feelings and build trust.
But it's not magic.
No. She stresses that charisma, genuine rapport, good intentions, those are way more important than just techniques. Suggestion needs a foundation of trust. If there's no trust, there's no hypnosis, essentially.
Okay. But she does talk about some pretty amazing effects possible in deep trance.
Oh, absolutely. Pain control, generating arousal, hallucinations, even influencing bodily functions. It shows the mind's power.
The hot coal experiment.
Yeah, that classic example where suggestion alone can cause the body to react as if burned, even creating a blister when it's just, say, ice being used.
That's incredible. It really shows how thought creates reality.
Or at least our perception of reality, and that's her point. We have a choice in our thoughts and feelings, even around sex, where things like performance anxiety can take hold.
So instead of spiraling into negative thoughts,
Choose differently. She offers that mantra, I choose how I feel. A simple reminder of our agency.
okay, let's get into the specific erotic uses she outlines. This sounds like where it gets really creative.
It does. She paints a picture of vastly expanded possibilities for pleasure. Things like whole-body orgasms, heightened sensitivity everywhere.
Hypnotic bondage, is that like mental restraints?
Kind of, yeah. Using suggestion to create sensations of being bound or controlled, enhancing fantasy. Also things like men potentially experiencing multiple orgasms without ejaculation, or controlling erection and ejaculation, always with consent, of course.
Always. And
Uh,
post-hypnotic suggestions for desire.
Right. Setting triggers, like touching your chin and saying deeper causes arousal, or hearing your voice on the phone sparks desire, creating those automatic links.
It sounds like a way to explore fantasies, too.
Definitely. Role-playing, intensifying specific sensations with cues, even suggesting tastes or tapping into primal animalistic feelings.
And trance travel together. What's that?
It's like a guided meditation, but shared. Traveling together in your minds to an imaginary pleasure, place a tropical island, a special room, a very intimate form of connection.
Okay, but consent is still paramount, right? Hypnosis can't be forced.
Absolutely not. She's very clear. Suggestions can always be rejected, even in trance. You can't make someone violate their core values.
But she mentioned something called the law of reverse effect.
Ah, yes. That's the idea that sometimes worrying about something happening can actually make it more likely. Like worrying you won't sleep keeps you awake.
The harder you try not to think about the pink elephant.
Exactly. And she suggests, maybe playfully, using this with a lever. Crafting suggestions like, the more you try not to think about wanting me, the more you will. It uses that reverse psychology.
Interesting angle. Now, underpinning all of this, rapport. You said it's fundamental.
Absolutely non-negotiable. Friesen dedicates a huge chunk to it. It's the foundation.
Got it.
Without rapport, there's no trust, no real suggestibility, no deep trance, period.
She calls charisma natural rapport.
Yeah, but the key takeaway is that rapport itself isn't just magic, it's a skill. You can learn it.
Learn to create that instant connection, that feeling of being understood.
Exactly, that subconscious trust. She argues it's key to influence in all areas: love, money, power.
And it relies on congruence, your words and body language matching up.
Crucial. If you're saying one thing but your body screams another, the subconscious picks up on that mismatch. Trust evaporates.
Passion is part of it too.
Big part of charisma, she says. Genuine passion is magnetic. It draws people in.
So the steps she outlines are build rapport, gain trust, induce waking trance, use suggestion, persuasion.
Right, leading to that magnetic effect.
Okay, practical stuff. How do you master rapport? What can you, the learner, actually do?
She gives homework. Practice instant rapport with everyone you meet. Matching and mirroring is key. Subtly adopt their posture, their gestures, maybe the way they tilt their head. It sends a subconscious signal. I'm like you, we're connected.
And voice.
Match their pace and tone. If they speak slowly, you slow down. If they're excited, you match that energy initially. Meet them where they are before trying to lead them.
Eye contact too.
Yeah, but mirror their level. Don't stare intensely if they're looking away a lot, but don't avoid eye contact if they're holding your gaze. Find that comfortable balance.
What about standing position?
Interesting point she makes for men approaching men, or sometimes women, starting at a slight angle, like 90 degrees, can feel less confrontational than face-to-face initially. With women, or once rapport is built, face-to-face is often better.
And listening. It seems obvious, but
It's huge. She suggests pausing, taking a small breath before responding. It shows you've actually processed what they said, not just waiting to talk. And don't interrupt. That kills rapport instantly.
okay, so you've built some rapport. What's next? This waking trance.
Right. Now you build on that foundation, start pacing and leading. A powerful technique is matching their breathing.
Breathing. How do you even notice that?
You watch their shoulders, their chest. It takes practice. But breathing in sync is a very deep subconscious connector. It says we are truly alike.
Wow.
Once you're in sync, matching posture, voice, breathing, you gently start to lead. Maybe you shift your weight slightly. Maybe you deepen your breath.
It is they follow.
That's your sign. It means the rapport is strong. They're unconsciously following your lead. You can then lead them towards a more relaxed state.
Oh.
Lead with your voice. Slow down. Lower the pitch slightly. Make it more rhythmic, maybe around 60 beats per minute. That's naturally calming. Lead with your body. Relax your own posture. Uncross your arms. Drop your shoulders. They'll often mirror you unconsciously.
And the rapport mantra. What's that?
Just internal self-talk.
Yeah.
Silently affirming things like, I am like you trust you, you trust me. It helps solidify your own state and project that comfort.
Interesting. What about rhythm? Finger tapping.
Yeah, introducing a subtle, steady rhythm, tapping a finger, swirling a drink around that 60 beats per minute mark. It can influence heart rate, induce relaxation. She notes small circular motions can be particularly suggestive for women.
And size.
A quiet, genuine sigh can signal relaxation and relief, inviting them to relax too, all while observing them for subtle signs of receptiveness, the head tilt, playing with hair, stroking an object, and maybe subtly mirroring those signs yourself.
So the trance starts subconscious.
Exactly. Bypasses the conscious filter.
You mentioned rhythm being important, like the swinging watch.
That's the classic image, yeah. The point is, rhythm perceived subconsciously is a powerful trance inducer. It's used everywhere, advertising jingles, background music in stores, even the cadence in some religious services.
To make you more suggestible.
Eh,
And maybe lose track of time.
exactly. Time distortion is common in trance. Think about highway hypnosis. The steady rhythm of the road, the engine.
Yeah.
You zone out.
Yeah, definitely experienced that.
So you can create that hypnotic rhythm in conversation too, pacing your voice for a smooth, almost poetic flow.
And with body movements.
Slow swaying, rubbing fingers together rhythmically, things they might unconsciously start to follow. Matching your voice rhythm to your body rhythm makes it even stronger.
Okay, but rapport is fragile, right? What breaks it?
Instantly, sometimes. Seemingly small things, looking away at someone else while talking to her. Big rapport breaker. Subconscious sees incongruence.
What about looking elsewhere on her body?
Yeah, she makes a specific point about this. Even if she looks away, if you let your eyes linger too obviously on, say, her breasts, it sends a conflicting message about your intentions versus maybe what you're saying. It can break that trust.
Okay, what else?
Interrupting, obviously, shows you don't value their input. Impatient tapping, knuckle cracking, jingling change, nervous eye movements, fidgeting. Definitely on the list. Boasting, talking too fast, nail biting, yawning inappropriately, too much or too little eye contact, pointing.
Lots of pitfalls.
Basically anything that signals disrespect, nervousness, or incongruence. She says what many women really want is to feel beautiful and special, and that requires genuine, congruent attention.
Can you break rapport intentionally?
Sure, if you want to create distance, deliberately mismatch. Talk fast while moving slowly, adopt closed-off body language. It creates discomfort. Useful sometimes.
Okay, so to deepen rapport beyond the basics, you mentioned matching breathing again.
It's that powerful, reiterating the steps. Master basic rapport, test with leading, then focus on matching breathing. Breathing at the same pace creates this profound sense of connection, like we are one.
Like tantric practices.
Exactly, she draws that parallel. The conscious synchronized breathing in Tantra creates intense connection. Subtly matching breath in conversation taps into that same powerful unconscious mechanism.
And use the rapport mantra while doing this.
Yeah, helps you really step into their reality, feel that connection, and keep watching for those signs of waking trance. The soft gaze, dilated pupils, relaxed muscles, maybe droopy eyelids.
Right. And eye contact again, passageway to ecstasy, big words.
She emphasizes its power. Beyond just mirroring, it's about the quality of the gaze. Not staring, but a soft, lingering look. Sincere. Accepting.
Breathing intention through the eyes.
That's the idea. Projecting warmth, acceptance, desire through your gaze. She suggests that fear of eye contact might even reflect a fear of vulnerability, of truly seeing and being seen.
Is there an exercise for this?
Yes, practicing sustained eye contact. Just 1 minute, then 2. Maybe focusing on projecting a specific positive emotion helps build comfort and intensity.
And looking at her body. You mentioned that earlier.
Right. After good rapport and trust are solid, break eye contact briefly, let your gaze slowly, appreciatively travel down her form. And then this is key, bring it back to her eyes with warmth and approval. Not lust or shame.
And maybe add something.
Yeah, a deep breath, a soft word like beautiful or lovely. It confirms the appreciation, builds more rapport, and can be a signal for moving closer.
Okay, switching gears slightly. Primary representational systems. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, VAK.
Right. The idea that people tend to favor one sense, sight, sound, or feeling touch in how they experience the world and process information.
And knowing your partner's primary system helps communication.
Massively. She gives that classic example. The auditory husband says, "I love you" constantly. But the kinesthetic wife only feels loved when he holds her. They're speaking different languages.
So how do you figure out someone's system?
Ask open-ended questions. Tell me about a great vacation. Then listen to the words they use. Are they visual? I saw the amazing sunset. It looked incredible. Auditory. I heard the waves crashing. The music sounded great. Or kinesthetic. I felt so relaxed. The warm sand was lovely. It was a moving experience.
And then you tailor your language.
Exactly. Use more visual words with a visual person, auditory with auditory, feeling touch words with kinesthetic. To be really effective, especially in hypnotic language, you try to weave in all three. Paint a picture they can see, hear, and feel. But emphasizing their primary system builds rapport faster.
Makes sense. You listen to how they describe things.
Precisely.
Okay, back to charisma and passion. You said charisma is learned, built on rapport and trust.
And sincerity, yes.
Yeah.
And passion. She describes passion as intoxicating, magnetic,
How do you practice passion if you're not feeling it?
Just practice. Pick any topic, even a mundane one, and talk about it with increasing enthusiasm. Use colorful, emotional language. Describe the sensory details. It's about accessing that energy within yourself.
The exercise in passion.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell a simple story, but ramp up the excitement, the description. It's not about being on all the time, but knowing how to tap into that genuine, engaging energy. Being present, truly interested in the other person, that's also key.
And setting outcomes. Defining your intention.
Yeah, having a clear idea of what you want from the interaction, like, I want her to feel completely comfortable and find me intriguing. Visualizing it, feeling it.
Why does that matter?
Because, Friesen suggests, people pick up on your intentions subconsciously. If you're focused on a positive connection, it can subtly influence their state, too.
But be careful about focusing purely on sex right away.
Definitely. Unless that's the clear mutual context, it can be off-putting. Focus on connection, rapport, making them feel good first. The rest follows more naturally if the foundation is there.
Last big piece. Your hypnotic voice.
Crucial. Your voice can either draw someone in, make them relax, feel seduced, or it can be grating and break rapport instantly.
So practice is key.
Absolutely. Read aloud, aim for a lower pitch, softer volume, smoother flow. Breathe from your diaphragm, not your throat or nose.
Avoid being nasal or choppy.
Right, or too high-pitched. Even accents, some are perceived as erotic, others annoying. The goal is a warm, deep, sincere tone that conveys trustworthiness and calm. Record yourself. It's the best way to hear what others hear.
Like that phrase, the moment I heard his voice, I melted.
Exactly. Your voice is a powerful instrument worth training not just for seduction, but for all communication.
Okay, wow. So wrapping up this deep dive into how to hypnotize your lover.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered a lot. The power of the subconscious and intimacy.
Yeah, the absolute necessity of rapport as the foundation.
Practical tools like anchoring, mirroring, pacing.
The subtleties of suggestion, consent, the law of reverse effect.
And ultimately, how much your own presence, your voice, your intention matters.
Absolutely. It really comes down to mindful communication and genuine connection, amplified perhaps by these techniques.
So here's a thought for you, the learner, to take away. What if you consciously decided to apply just one of these ideas in your interactions this week?
Yeah, maybe focusing only on truly listening without interrupting, or practicing mirroring posture subtly.
Just pick one thing. How might that single shift change the dynamic? What could you discover about connection, about yourself, about others?
It's an interesting experiment. And of course, if this sparked your interest, delving deeper into Friesen's work or related fields can open up even more.
A lot to think about. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
Until next time.